Have you ever failed so badly that you just wanted to give up? When everything you worked for shattered in a moment. And all you could think was, maybe I'm just not good enough. But what if I told you, failure isn't the end? It's actually the beginning of something far more powerful. This is a story of how one failure changed a boy's entire life. Rohan was just an ordinary boy. Dreams big enough to touch the sky, but a life too small to hold them. He was a top student, loved by teachers, respected by friends. Everyone believed he would make it big, and so did he. Until one day, everything fell apart. It was the day of his final school exams, the ones that decided his future. He had studied for months. Slept late, worked hard, and dreamed harder. But when the results came, his name wasn't there. He failed. And in that one word, failed, his whole world broke. For days, Rohan couldn't look anyone in the eye. His parents stayed silent. His friends avoided him. He stopped going out. Stopped smiling. Stopped dreaming. He felt useless. And every time he looked at himself in the mirror, he saw disappointment. He thought, what's the point of trying again? I gave it my all, and still failed. Maybe you felt that too, when life punches you harder than you expected. When you give your best, and it's still not enough. But one night, something changed. Rohan was sitting alone in his room. The lights were off. The only sound was the ticking of the clock. And suddenly, his father walked in. He didn't scold him. He didn't say, you should have studied harder. He just sat beside him, and said something Rohan would never forget. Son, do you know how many times I failed before I got this job? Rohan looked up, surprised. His father continued. 5 times. I failed 5 job interviews. And every time, I thought it was the end. But every failure was just preparing me for the one time I succeeded. Then he smiled and said softly, failure doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means your success story isn't written yet. Those words hit Rohan like lightning. The next morning, Rohan woke up with a new fire inside him. He picked up his old books again. He started from scratch, this time not to prove others wrong, but to prove to himself that he could rise. He studied harder than ever before. He made a plan, followed it every day, and stayed consistent, no matter how tough it got. Months later, exam results came again. This time, his hands were shaking as he opened the paper. And when he saw his name, on the top of the list, he broke down in tears. Not because he topped, but because he finally understood something deep. Failure wasn't his enemy. It was his teacher. From that day, Rohan started seeing failure differently. He realized every time life pushed him down, it was only to make him rise stronger. He went on to college, faced new challenges, and even failed again. But this time, he smiled through it. Because he knew, failure doesn't define who you are. What defines you, is how you rise after it. So if you're watching this right now, and you've failed at something, an exam, a dream, a relationship, or even yourself, remember this. You haven't lost. You're just learning. Every failure is a sign that you're still trying. And as long as you keep trying, you're not a failure. Because success doesn't come to those who never fall. It comes to those who keep standing up, no matter how many times they fall. So don't run from failure. Embrace it. Learn from it. Because one day, you'll look back and say, that failure was the best thing that ever happened to me. If this story touched your heart, remember to share it. Someone out there might need this message today. And never forget, every great story begins with failure. Yours might just be beginning now.